Hello everyone. So coming to morphology in amyloidosis, all the organs like kidneys, liver, spleen, lymph nodes, adrenals and thyroid, they are involved in amyloidosis. And on macroscopically, the affected organs are often enlarged, firm and have a waxy appearance. So there is enlargement of the organ with waxy appearance. If the deposits are sufficiently large, painting the cut surface with iodine, it will impart yellow color, and that is transformed to blue violet after application of sulfuric acid. So you can paint the surface with iodine, which will give yellow color, and further application of sulfuric acid, that color will turn to violet color, giving the positive sign of presence of amyloid. Most commonly used stain for amyloid is Congo red, which impart pink or red color to the amyloid under the light microscopy. So this, on extreme left side, we are seeing H&E stain slide giving pink color to the amyloid, and this is the Congo red stain giving red color, and on extreme right hand side you are seeing the greenish green birefringent of the amyloid under the polarizing microscopy. Under polarized light, the Congo red stained amyloid shows a green birefringence. This reaction is shared by all forms of amyloid, and it is due to cross beta pleated configuration of amyloid fibrils. Staining characteristics of amyloid. So on H&E stain, amyloid stains pink, hyaline and homogeneous. Methyl violet or crystal violet can be used, which will give rose pink color, as they are metachromatic stains. On Congo red stain, on light microscopy we will see pink red color, and under the polarizing light or under polarizing microscope there is green birefringent. Thioflavin T and thioflavin S, they can be used, and they under the UV light will give fluorescence yellow color. Immunohistochemistry can be used. Other stains used are toluidine blue, which will impart orthochromatic blue color to the amyloid, Elshin blue, that will give blue-green color, and periodic acid shift will give pink color to the amyloid. So the stains which can be used for amyloid appreciation are H&E stained, methyl violet or crystal violet. Third is Congo red stain, thioflavin T, thioflavin S, IHC, toluidine blue, Elshin blue and PAS. So when kidney is involved by amyloidosis, kidney is the most commonly involved organ and potentially most serious form of organ involvement. Grossly, the kidney may be normal in size and color, but in advanced cases, it is shrunken. The size is decreased because of ischemia, and this ischemia is due to vascular narrowing due to deposition of amyloid within the arterial and arteriolar walls. So the kidney is either normal in size or it may be shrunken in advanced cases. So on microscopic examination or under histology, the amyloid is deposited primarily in the glomeruli, but interstitium and arteries and arterioles are also affected. The glomerular deposits first appear as subtle thickening of the mesangial matrix, accompanied usually by uneven widening of the basement membranes of the capillaries. With the progression of the glomerular amyloidosis, the capillary lumen are obliterated and the obsolete glomerulus is flooded by confluent mass or interlacing broad ribbons of the amyloid. So, in this microphotograph, you are showing the glomeruli with amyloid deposition. Amyloidosis of spleen may be inapparent grossly or it may cause marked splenomegaly. Spleen may weigh up to 800 grams. So, on the basis of how the amyloid is deposited in the spleen, there are two types of spleen. When the deposits are largely limited to the splenic follicles, producing the tapioca-like granules on gross inspection or sago-like granules, they are known as sago spleen. And when the amyloid involves the wall of the splenic sinuses and connective tissue framework in the red pulp, this will designated as lardaceous spleen. When deposited, they give like map-like areas of amyloidosis. So when spleen is involved, there are two patterns, sago spleen and lardaceous spleen. In sago spleen, spleen is enlarged. Cut surface show translucent waxy nodules resembling the sago grains. And on microscopically, it involves the white pulp, involve the periarterial lymphoid sheet. In lardaceous spleen, there is marked enlargement of the spleen and cut surface show map-like areas resembling the lard. So, lardaceous spleen, there are map-like areas and deposits they start in the wall of the splenic sinuses which progress till they form large diffuse masses. So, in this red pulp is involved. When liver is involved, the deposits may be inapparent grossly or may cause moderate to marked hepatomegaly. Amyloid first appears in space of Deci, then it progressively encroaches the parenchymal cells and the sinusoids. In time, the deformity, pressure atrophy, and disappearance of hepatocytes occur, causing the total replacement of the large areas of the liver parenchyma. Vascular involvement and deposits in Kupffer cells are also seen. So first phase of Deci is involved, then the parenchymal cells and sinusoids are involved, leading to disappearing of the hepatocytes, causing replacement of the large areas of liver parenchyma. Then the Kupffer cells and vascular involvement is also seen. So this is the amyloid deposition and atrophy of the hepatocytes. Heart is involved in systemic amyloidosis and also in senile systemic amyloidosis. The heart may be enlarged and firm, but more often it shows no significant changes on gross inspection. Histologically, the amyloid deposition begin as focal subendocardial accumulation, then within the myocardium. Other organs can also be involved in systemic disease like adrenals, thyroid, pituitary. Gastrointestinal tract may also be involved at any level from oral cavity to the anus. When nodular deposition of amyloid takes place in tongue, it is it will cause macroglossia, giving rise the designation tumor-forming amyloid of the tongue. Amyloidosis of peripheral and autonomic nerve is known as familial amyloidotic neuropathies. So when amyloid is deposited in the tongue, giving the macroglossia. Now the clinical features. Amyloidosis may be found as an unsuspected anatomic change, having produced no clinical manifestations, or it may cause death. Symptoms purely depend on the magnitude of the deposits and on the site or organ affected. Clinical manifestations at first are often entirely non-specific, or it will be more specific when appear later and often relate to the organ involved like renal, cardiac, gastrointestinal involvement. So if kidney is involved, then patient may undergo nephrotic syndrome, and progressive obliteration of the glomeruli in advanced cases ultimately leads to renal failure and uremia. Cardiac amyloidosis may present as an insidious congestive heart failure, and other effects are conduction disturbances and arrhythmias, or restrictive pattern of cardiomyopathy. Gastrointestinal amyloidosis may be entirely asymptomatic or may present in variety of ways. Amyloidosis of the tongue may cause sufficient enlargement and inelasticity to hamper speech and swallowing. When amyloid is deposited in stomach and intestine, it may lead to malabsorption, diarrhea, and disturbances in the digestion. So the diagnosis of the amyloidosis, it depends on the histologic demonstration of amyloid deposits in the tissue by various stains, as we have discussed already. The most common site biopsies are the kidney when renal manifestation is present, or rectal or gingival tissues in patients suspected of having systemic amyloidosis. If kidney is involved, then kidney biopsy is required. If we are suspecting systemic amyloidosis, then gingival tissue or rectal biopsy is indicated. Examination of abdominal fat aspirates stained with Congo red can also be used for diagnosis of systemic amyloidosis. So kidney biopsy, rectal and gingival biopsy, and abdominal fat aspirates can be used. The test is quite specific. Abdominal fat aspirate is quite specific, but its sensitivity is low. In suspected cases of immunocyte-associated amyloidosis, serum and urine protein electrophoresis and immunoelectrophoresis should be performed. Bone marrow aspirates in such cases often show monoclonal plasmacytosis. Scintigraphy and radio-labeled serum amyloid component is a rapid and specific test. Now the prognosis. Prognosis for individuals with generalized amyloidosis is poor. And in amyloidosis with immunocyte derived, they have a median survival of 2 years after diagnosis. Persons with myeloma associated amyloidosis, they have a poorer prognosis. Resorption of amyloid after treatment of the associated condition has been reported, but this is a rare occurrence. Now the therapeutic strategies aimed at correcting the protein misfolding and inhibiting fibrinogenesis are being developed. Thank you.